James Turner for the untouchable true school sports. Let's go, baby. Bow!
Be careful what you wish for because it can become a reality.
Yeah. The untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing games are missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. All right, so I wanted to come here and sound off on my fellow Dominicano. Yo soy Dominicano, 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 Dominicano. Y'all know that song. Listen, I want to talk about Rohan Polanco because Rohan Polanco, he fought Quinton Randall on the Xander Zayas undercard. And I feel like a lot of people give Rohan Polanco a lot of slack. And let's just be real. Like, truth be told, guys, nobody ever looks good against Quinton Randall. Quinton Randall just got one of them styles that's designed. Sometimes you get those guys in boxing. There's been plenty of those guys over the years. If you know your boxing, there's been plenty of fighters throughout the years that are obviously, highly competent, solid professional fighters, but they're not exactly threatening to win world titles. But they know the way around the ring. They're crafty, and they know how to make you look beneath your best. And Quinton Randall, to me, he fits the description of one of those guys. He's never been knocked out. Randall has never been knocked out. He don't really do a whole lot of knocking out himself, but he's long, he's rangy. And the thing about Quinton Randall is he doesn't really take a lot of risks. Like, he doesn't give you a lot to work with as far as opening him up. And so because of that, you fight a guy like Quinton Randall, your punch output's going to lower. He's going to make you look bad. If you're an aggressive fighter, you're going to throw less punches than normal. You're going to land less, significant punches. So overall, you should never fight a guy like Quinton Randall and expect to look good, right? So I think people discrediting Rohan Polanco for looking not his best against Quinton Randall, I thought that's not fair to him. Brian Norman Jr., who is the world champion right now and who is the best welterweight in the world and one of the most entertaining and most vicious fighters in boxing, it wasn't that long ago. In fact, it was less than 2 years ago. It was actually about almost 18 months ago that Quinton Randall fought Brian Norman Jr. on the undercard of Shakur Stevenson versus Edwin De Los Santos, and that fight was a stinker. And what people are saying about Polanco now, they were saying about Norman then. Oh, he didn't look good. I don't know about this guy. He's gonna get knocked out once he stepped up. And when Norman started to step up, he had about one more tough fight with Janelson Figueroa. And after that, it's just been a trail of dead bodies. So I feel like every fighter needs to have a fight like Quinton Randall in his career to really get to the next level. And I think this fight will help take Rohan Polanco to another level. Rohan Polanco is a good fighter. And Top Rank has matched him with some solid guys. Guys like Keith Hunter, Cesar Rayman Francis, Marcelino Lopez. Like these are guys that are good, competent professional fighters, solid professional fighters. Two of those guys I named were long, rangy, wiry fighters, kind of like Quinton Randall. So Polanco's seen his style, but Randall to me is the most safety first of the longer, rangy guys he's fought. So there wasn't a lot of openings. But I say all that, and I set the stage to say this. I want to look ahead a bit because I'll tell you guys like this. Now, I'm gonna say it like this, all right? And some people may like it, some people may not like it. Not only do I think Brian Norman Jr. is going to beat Devin Haney, I think he's going to send Devin Haney to the emergency room. The nearest emergency room in Saudi Arabia, I feel like that's where Devin Haney is going. And I think Devin Haney doesn't really realize what kind of fight he's in. He's going to find out. And by the time he finds out, it's going to be too late. So, look, whether Brian Norman wins the fight against Devin Haney or loses, I still think this is a fight that's going to happen with him and Rohan Polanco. Polanco has been very adamant about fighting Brian Norman Jr. I saw a clip on Twitter that was posted, I think, by Broadway Joel. So shout out to Broadway Joel, the voice of Dominican boxing, who does really good work covering the Dominican fighters. He kind of does for the Dominican fighters what I do for the Japanese fighters, and does a great job at it. So I got to give credit where credit is due. But I'm pretty sure he posted it. He said that he said pretty much that Rohan Polanco said that he'll fight Brian Norman anywhere. He'll fight Brian Norman in his living room. So I think that's a fight that will happen. And I think it's stylistically a really good fight. Like, you look at Polanco, he's 5'10". I think Norman's pushing about 5'10". They both have that short, stocky build. They're both very, very explosive. Why I think the fight gets interesting is I think Norman's a bit more fundamentally sound. I think that's where I think that there's a difference between Polanco and Norman. Now, Polanco, he's not a can, at all. He's got fundamentals. He's not he's not flailing his arms away, but because he was an Olympian. But I just think Norman knows how to set up his power a little bit better. And I think the Randall fight and the fights he's had since the Randall fight have helped him do that. Polanco may not get that luxury that Norman got to take, certain amount of fights before getting the title shot, which I think will work against Polanco. I think Polanco still needs probably, like, in my opinion, I think he needs about 2 more fights at development before he thinks about fighting Brian Norman Jr. because, right now I just think coming off the Randall fight, he needs to take the experience from the Randall fight and implement it into other fights. So I think there's other good fights out there for him. I think, I look at the rankings. I look at guys like Rashidi Ellis. I look at guys like Nicholas Flaus. Obviously, good fighters, but, the guys that are not right now on the level of Brian Norman Jr. So I think if he could fight maybe one of those guys before fighting at Brian Norman Jr. and get past that, I think that would do a world of good for his confidence coming off of the Randall fight. It'll make him a different type of fighter going into a Norman fight because ultimately, and I'm gonna tell you guys, because you guys know I'm good at this. You guys know I'm good at telling y'all what's gonna happen before it happens. If Norman comes through that fight against Haney, which I think he's going to, and you know what, even if Devin Haney comes to that fight, regardless of who it is, I think Polanco is gonna get a WBO world title shot within about a year period because he's a top ranked fighter, and we know that when it comes to top rank, Uncle Bob gets what Uncle Bob wants. So I think Rohan Polanco gets a title shot, and I think it will be against Brian Norman Jr. And I think it will be an explosive fight, and I think it will be a fight because Brian Norman's been talking about fighting in Atlanta, having a homecoming fight in Atlanta, and you know what? He deserves it. Last couple fights he fought in San Diego, Vegas, Japan. Now he's fighting in Saudi. He deserves a homecoming fight. So if he gets through Devin and proves that he is the goods, if he is what I have now grown into believing he is, and many people have grown into believing he is, then I think Norman versus Polanco will happen, sometime in 2026, within the first 6 to 7 months, something like that, and we'll have a really explosive fight. I think Polanco and Norman are both going to look for a knockout. They're not going to make it any secret. That's going to be one of them fights. Like, I don't know if it'll be, like, I was really gassed about the Jin Sasaki fight because Jin Sasaki's reckless as hell. This fight might actually be better in terms of the fight being competitive. I thought Jin versus Norman was supposed to be more competitive. It wasn't because just Jin's not on that level yet. Maybe he'll never get on that level. Who knows? He needs to tighten some things up. But Polanco has a lot more experience than a guy like Jin. He punches very hard. And he's someone that I think is not going to lay down. So I think this Randall fight for Polanco could very well be what he needs for his career to go to the next level, to be that world champion. I could be wrong, but I don't think there's been a Dominican welterweight world champion. So he's trying to become the first Dominican welterweight champion. And one thing about Brian Norman Jr., he showed it already. When these countries with boxing history like Japan are trying to get the first fighter from their country to win a world title in the division, he crushed those dreams. He did it with Jin Sasaki, so he may just do the same thing with Polanco. But either way, look, these are just my very, very probably too early preliminary thoughts on a potential match between Norman and Polanco. I like the fight. I think it will happen in 2026 if Norman gets past Haney. And when it does happen, it'll be a very, very exciting fight for the welterweight division. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. What do you think about Norman versus Polanco 2026? How do you see that fight? Leave your comments down below. Make sure you guys take the time to subscribe. And like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Daniel. So until next time, take care, guys. Thank you for watching another video on the untouchable True School Sports Empire. For more great boxing content just like this, make sure you guys stay tuned and subscribe. You won't be disappointed.